The council chamber sat at the heart of Nexus Prime, a massive station floating in neutral space. 12 species had built this place together, though some built more than others. The chamber itself was a circle of polished metal and glowing screens with seats arranged in tiers like an ancient arena. At the top sat the eldest species. At the bottom sat humanity. Doyen straightened his jacket as he walked to the speaking platform. 50 years. 50 years of humanity serving on this council as provisional members. 50 years of proving themselves over and over again. Today was supposed to change that. Beside him, Jean carried a data pad filled with records. Every mission, every saved life, every contribution humanity had made since joining the galactic community. She placed it on the podium with a soft click that echoed in the silent chamber. Honored Council, Doyen began, his voice calm and clear. We come before you today to request full membership status with equal voting rights. Humanity has served faithfully for 5 decades. We have met every requirement you set before us. High Chancellor then, a reptilian creature with golden scales, looked down from his seat. His eyes were cold. Ambassador Doyen, your species has indeed been adequate in your service. However, full membership requires more than simply following orders. Councillor Vexter, an aven being with brilliant blue feathers, actually laughed. The sound was sharp and mocking. Adäquate. Chancellor, you are too kind. The humans have existed as a spacefaring species for barely 2 centuries. My people have sailed the stars for 20,000 years. They are infants playing at politics. Several other councillors joined in the laughter. Doyen's face remained neutral, but Jean noticed his jaw tightened slightly. She had worked with him long enough to recognize anger hidden beneath calm water. If I may continue, Doyen said, waiting for the laughter to die down. During the Outer Rim crisis 3 years ago, human peacekeepers held the line while reinforcements arrived. 4,000 human soldiers died protecting colonies that were not their own. Surely this demonstrates. It demonstrates that humans are useful, interrupted Councillor Moros, an aquatic being whose translation device made his voice sound wet and bubbling. Guard dogs are also useful. That does not make them equal to their masters. The chamber fell silent at that. Even some of the other councillors looked uncomfortable. Jean saw a junior 8, a young insectoid named Kresh, shift uneasily in his seat. Doyen took a slow breath. I see. Then perhaps you would consider our medical contributions. Human doctors have filled positions we allowed you to fill. Vexter cut in. You act as if you did us a favor. You were given opportunities to serve. Nothing more. Jean watched the council carefully. She had expected resistance, but not this level of casual contempt. For 50 years, humanity had been patient. They had smiled at insults. They had worked twice as hard for half the recognition. And now, watching these ancient species mock human sacrifice, something crystallized in her mindestens. They would never see humans as equals. It did not matter what humanity did or how long they served. To these old empires, humans would always be newcomers, always lesser. Doyen continued speaking, laying out achievements one by one. The terraforming projects on 17 worlds, the communication network improvements, the banking systems that made interstellar trade faster and safer. With each point, he received the same dismissive responses. These are tasks we assigned you, then said finally. You performed your duties. This is expected, not exceptional. Then what must we do? Doyen asked. The question was simple, direct. Tell us what would make humanity worthy of equal status in your eyes. The councillors looked at each other. The silence stretched. Finally, Vexter spoke. Time, he said. Perhaps in another 1,000 years, your species will have matured enough. For now, you should be grateful for the position you hold. Grateful, Doyen repeated softly. Jean heard something in his voice that made her look up sharply. She knew that tone. Yes, grateful, Moros added. Many species never even receive provisional status. You should count yourselves fortunate that we allow you here at all. then raised one clawed hand. The matter is settled. We will now vote on the human request for full membership status. All in favor? Silence. All opposed? 12 hands rose. Every single counselor, even the ones who had seemed uncomfortable earlier. Furthermore, then continued, the council has decided that humanity's current trait privileges are too generous for a provisional member. These will be reduced by 30% effective immediately. This meeting is adjourned. Doyen stood very still for a moment. Jean gathered the data pad, the one full of records that no one had even looked at. Around them, counselors began talking amongst themselves, already moving on to other business, as if humanity's 50 years of service could be dismissed in 5 minutes. Ambassador, Jean whispered. We should go. Doyen nodded. He turned to face the council one last time. Several counselors were not even paying attention anymore. Chancellor then, Doyen said clearly. Fellow counselors, I want to thank you for your time today. Then waved one hand in acknowledgement, already reading something on his screen. You have given us your answer, Doyen continued. And we have heard it clearly. Humanity understands our position now. We will act accordingly. Something in those last 3 words made Jean glance at him sharply. But Doyen's face showed nothing except polite professionalism. He bowed slightly, a gesture of respect that none of the counselors returned. The human delegation filed out of the chamber in perfect order. No shouting, no protests, no dramatic speeches about justice or fairness. They simply left, their footsteps quiet on the metal floor behind them. Counselor Wexler chuckled. That went easier than expected. I thought they might cause a scene. Humans are emotional creatures, Moros agreed. But even they know when they are outmatched. They will grumble and complain, but they will stay in line. Then was not so certain. He had watched Doyen's face during that final moment. There had been something there hidden beneath the calm, something that worried him. Ambassador Kresh, he called to the Junior 8. Sent word to human sectors. I want reports on any unusual activity. Yes, Chancellor, Kresh said, but privately he wondered what unusual activity could come from such a quiet departure. The humans had accepted defeat gracefully. Too gracefully, perhaps. In the hallway outside, Jean walked beside Doyen. Neither spoke until they were alone in the transport pod heading back to the human section of the station. So, Jean said quietly. We are really doing this. Doyen looked out at the stars streaming past. His reflection in the window showed the calm mask finally slipping. Beneath it was not anger. It was something colder. Something decided. Yes, he said. Sent the message. Protocol Exodus. Begin Phase 1. Jean pulled out her communicator, her finger steady. She had prepared this message years ago, hoping they would never need ET, but she had known deep down that this day would come. The message was simple. Just 2 words that would change everything. We're leaving. The first ships left exactly 12 hours after the vote. No fanfare, no announcements. They simply powered up their engines and departed, filing out of dock after dock like a quiet tide going out to sea. Admiral Jivan stood on the bridge of the carrier Indomitable, watching the fleet assemble in formation. Each ship represented years of human presence in council space. Medical vessels, engineering platforms, defense cruisers, trade haulers, all of them were coming home. All ships reporting ready, Admiral, her first officer said. Take us out, Jivan ordered. Navigation, plot course for the Kepler Gate. Communications, maintain silence protocols. The Indomitable turned gracefully, its massive bulk moving with surprising elegance. Behind it, 300 ships followed. Not a single one broadcast its destination. Not a single captain filed a flight plan with council traffic control. On the surface of Kepler Prime, Tahong was overseeing a different kind of departure. The human quarter of the city had been bustling just yesterday. Now, families packed belongings into cases with quiet efficiency. Children asked questions their parents answered with gentle patience. Why are we leaving, Mama? A small girl asked, clutching a stuffed animal. Her mother knelt down, smoothing the child's hair. Because sometimes, sweetheart, you have to walk away from people who do not see your worth. We gave them our best, but they did not value it. So now we give our best to ourselves. Tahong watched the scene and felt his chest tighten. These people had built lives here. They had friends among the other species, businesses, homes. And now they were leaving it all behind because the council could not see past its own arrogance. His communicator buzzed. A message from the terraforming guild. All operations suspended. Equipment powered down. We are withdrawing. That message was from Minhee, the lead engineer on the Dyson Sphere project at Kepler Station. The sphere was a massive construction meant to harness the energy of an entire star. Humans had designed 60% of it. Human engineers had solved the impossible problems that had stalled the project for decades. Now those engineers were packing up their tools and going home. Tahong sent a single reply. Confirmed. Safe travels. He looked out over the city one last time. In 3 days, the human quarter would be empty. Already non-human residents were starting to notice. Shop owners found human employees simply gone. Hospitals discovered entire departments had resigned overnight. The city maintenance office reported that half their technical staff had vanished. But there were no goodbye parties. No farewell speeches. Humans just left quietly one by one. On Nexus Prime itself, the effects were more immediate. The Station housed 50,000 humans, most working in essential services. By the second day, only a few hundred remained, and they were packing. High Chancellor then first noticed something was wrong when his morning briefing screen failed to load. He pressed the call button for technical support. No one answered. Strange, he muttered, trying again. Still nothing. He left his chambers and found the corridor lights flickering. In all his years on Nexus Prime, the lights had never flickered. The station was maintained to perfection, maintained by humans. A small voice in his mind whispered the thought. He pushed it aside and made his way to the council chambers. Several other councillors were already there looking confused and irritated. My waste disposal has not functioned in 2 days, Councillor Moros complained. I have sent 6 requests to maintenance. No response. The medical bay refused to see me this morning, another councillor added. They said they were understaffed and only handling emergencies. Vexter flew in, his feathers ruffled with agitation. Has anyone else noticed the human sections are nearly empty? I flew past their quarter this morning. Shops closed. Residences dark. What is happening? Then felt a cold weight settling in his stomach. Someone get me a station roster. I want to know exactly how many humans are still on board. An 8 scurried off. Then waited, trying to ignore the growing sense of unease. The 8 returned 15 minutes later, longer than such a simple task should have taken. Chancellor, the 8 said nervously. There are problems with the database. Many systems are not responding properly, but from what I could access, there appear to be only 217 humans remaining on Station. Out of how many? 50,000, Chancellor. The chamber went silent. Where did they go? Vexter asked, his voice rising. 50,000 people do not simply disappear. They left, then said quietly. The pieces were falling into place now. Doyen's calm acceptance. That final statement. We will act accordingly. They are all leaving. Leaving for where? Moros demanded. Everywhere. Nowhere. It does not matter. Then accessed his personal console, pulling up reports from across council space. His claws clicked frantically on the keys. Human cargo vessels departing the Anterhub. Human medical staff resigning from the Belazan Colony Hospital. Human peacekeepers abandoning their posts in the Outer Rim. Report after report. The same pattern everywhere. Humans withdrawing. No violence, no theft. They simply finished their shifts and left, taking only what belonged to them. This is desertion, Vexter shrieked. This is abandonment of duty. We should send ships after them. Force them to return. On what grounds? Then asked tiredly. They are provisional members. They have no legal obligation to serve. We made certain of that, remember? We wanted to be able to dismiss them at any time. Now they are dismissing themselves. Counselor Kresh, the young insectoid, spoke up hesitantly. Chancellor, I think we should see this. He activated a holographic display. It showed the galactic communication network, the vast web of relays and satellites that allowed instantaneous communication across the galaxy. Usually, it glowed with thousands of green indicators showing perfect function. Now, red warning lights were appearing across the network. Slowly at first, then faster. What is causing that? Then demand it. The network is maintained primarily by human technicians, Kresh said quietly. They are leaving their posts. The automated systems are failing without them. Then stared at the spreading red warnings. Communication breakdowns. That meant trade disruptions, diplomatic failures, defense coordination issues. How long until we can replace them, he asked. Kresh consulted his datapad. His compound eyes seemed to dim to train new technicians to human standards. 5 to 7 years, Chancellor. Assuming we can even understand their documentation. 5 years. Vexter gasped. That is just communication, Kresh continued, his voice growing more distressed. Medical systems will fail faster. We do not have the knowledge to manufacture many human pharmaceuticals. Food production on 17 colonies depends on human agricultural technology. Defense networks in the Outer Rim are 90% human-operated. Trade route navigation uses human mapping algorithms that we do not fully understand. The chamber erupted in shouting. Counselors demanding answers, demanding action, demanding that someone fix this. But then heard none of it. He was remembering Doyen's presentation, all the contributions humanity had made. They had not been asking for a gift. They had been showing the council exactly what they would lose, and the council had laughed at them. Silence. Then roared. The chamber quieted. We need to contact Earth immediately. Open a channel to Ambassador Doyen. The communications officer tried. Then tried again. Finally, he looked up, his expression helpless. Chancellor, all official channels to human leadership are closed. They are not accepting our calls. Then slumped in his chair. Through the chamber windows, he could see human ships in the distance, jumping to faster-than-light travel. Leaving. All of them leaving. And for the first time in his long life, the High Chancellor of the Galactic Council felt afraid. Captain Sunu piloted the last human medical transport away from the Vidian system. Behind her, the colony hospital was struggling. She could see it on her scanners. Emergency calls piling up, systems failing, staff overwhelmed. 1 week ago, she would have turned around to help. Now she kept flying. Captain, her co-pilot said softly. We are receiving distress calls, multiple frequencies. They are begging us to return. I hear them, Sunu replied, her hands steady on the controls. Continue on course. They are offering money. A lot of money. Sunu glanced at the communication screen. The offers were substantial. Triple salary, quadruple housing, citizenship. Anything humans wanted, they were suddenly willing to give. Tell them no, she said politely. Then closed the channel. Her co-pilot hesitated, then sent the message. The response came immediately, no longer polite. Demands, threats, accusations of abandoning patients, of betraying their medical oaths. Sunu closed her eyes briefly. Those words hurt. She had been a doctor for 20 years before becoming a transport captain. She understood the oath to do no harm. But she also understood something else. They had harmed humanity for 50 years with their contempt, and humans had taken it because they hoped things would change. Hope was a beautiful thing, but it could also be a chain. In the passenger section, Yuna was recording interviews. As the expedition's xenoanthropologist, she felt it was important to document this moment. Future generations would want to know why humanity left. "How do you feel about leaving?" she asked an elderly engineer named Haku. The old man looked out the window at the shrinking station. "Tired," he said simply. "I spent 30 years maintaining the fusion reactor on that station. I trained their engineers. I fixed every problem. And 2 days ago, Counselor Wexler walked past me in the corridor. I greeted him as I always Donnerstag. He did not even see me. I was invisible. A tool on the wall. Do you think we are doing the right thing?" Yuna asked. Haku smiled sadly. "Child, I do not know if it is right, but I know we cannot stay where we are not valued. My granddaughter deserves to grow up knowing her worth. She will not learn that here." Yuna recorded dozens of similar interviews. Every human had a story. The scientist whose research was published under a council member's name. The teacher whose students were forbidden from calling her professor because she was human. The soldier who saved a counselor's life and received not even a thank you. Small cuts, each one. But 50 years of small cuts left deep scars. On Nexus Prime, the cascade was accelerating. The communication network was down to 40% function. Ships were colliding because traffic control could not coordinate properly. The medical bay had closed entirely. The 2 human doctors remaining could not handle the station's population alone. Emergency council meetings happened every 6 hours. Now, each one brought worse news. "The anti-trade routes are collapsing," reported Delegate PRA, the junior counselor who had been assigned to assess the damage. His report made for grim reading. Human vessels were the primary carriers for 70% of goods through that sector. Without them, shipments are delayed by weeks. "Find other carriers," Wexler demanded. "We are trying, Counselor, but human ships were efficient. They had the best navigation, the most reliable schedules. Other species cannot match that capacity. Not quickly." Counselor Moros dismissed this with a wave. "Temporary disruption. The markets will adjust. Humans were just laborers. They did not invent faster than light travel or create anything new. They simply worked the systems we already had." PRA looked at the older counselor with something like pity. "Counselor, I have been reviewing human contributions to galactic infrastructure. They did not invent faster than light travel. True. But they improved it by 18%. Every ship in council space uses human navigation algorithms now. We do not have the source code. We do not know how they work. Then we will figure it out," Morrow snapped. "We are not children. The preliminary analysis suggests it will take 50 to 200 years to reverse engineer human systems," PRA said quietly. "And that is assuming we even can. Humans think differently than we. Donnerstag. Their solutions to problems are often unexpected." Then rubbed his temple where a headache was building. "What about the defense network? The outer rim?" PRA's expression grew even more worried. "That is our most critical failure, Chancellor. The defense grid is 60% human operated. Without them, we have gaps in coverage. Pirates have already noticed. Raids have increased 300% in the past week." Then stood abruptly. "Why was I not informed? I am informing you now, Chancellor. The situation is developing rapidly. 3 colony worlds have formally requested human protection. When told humans were no longer available, they withdrew from the council." The chamber erupted again. Species withdrawing from the council was almost unheard of. The stability of the galactic government was legendary. Now it was crumbling in days. "Which worlds?" commanded Vexta. "Talus Prime, Hebron, and Newsom," PRA listed. "They have sent diplomatic envoys directly to Earth. They are seeking independent treaties with humanity." Vexter's feathers puffed up in rage. "This is mutiny. This is humans stealing our territory." "The humans have done nothing," then said, his voice hollow. "These worlds are choosing to leave on their own because we cannot protect them anymore. On the medical station above Belsen colony, Dr. Il was packing the last of her equipment. She had worked here for 8 years. She loved this place, loved her patients, loved the challenge of treating dozens of different species. But when the council vote came down, she knew it was time to go. Her colleague, a Belsen native named Trex, watched her pack with distress. "Please," he said, "please reconsider. We need you. The infection ward alone requires specialists we do not have. You have 3 months of medications," I said gently, "and I have sent all my research to the station database. You will manage." "We will not," Trex's multiple arms gestured frantically. "Half the medications you use, we do not know how to synthesize. Your techniques for cross-species surgery. No one else knows them." Then perhaps the council should have thought of that before they decided humans were not worthy of respect, I said. There was no anger in her voice, just tired resignation. "But the council is not here. We are. Your patients are. How can you leave them?" I stopped packing and looked at him. Really looked at him. Trex was a good doctor and a good person. He had always treated her as an equal. But he had also stood silent when other staff made jokes about human intelligence. He had never spoken up when she was passed over for promotion in favor of less qualified candidates. Good people could still enable bad systems by doing nothing. "Trex," she said softly. "For 8 years, I have worked twice as hard for half the recognition. I have saved lives. I have trained your staff. I have given everything to this station. And when I asked the council for basic equality, they laughed. You want to know how I can leave my patients? I ask you, how could you let this happen? You knew it was wrong. All of you knew, but you said nothing because it was not your problem." Trex looked away, unable to meet her eyes. "Now it is your problem," I finished. "And I hope you solve it. I truly do, but I will not be here to fix it for you anymore." She closed her equipment case and walked toward the shuttle bay. Behind her, Trex stood silent, knowing she was right in hating that knowledge. Across the galaxy, the same scene played out 1,000,000 times. Humans leaving, former colleagues begging them to stay, offers of money, positions, anything, and humans saying no because some things cannot be bought. Back on Nexus Prime, then stood alone in his office, looking at a holographic map of council space. Red indicators spread across it like a disease. Each one marked a critical failure point. Medical, engineering, defense, trade, communication. 50 years. Humans had embedded themselves in every vital system over 50 years, and the council had never noticed because they never looked. They saw humans as servants, as useful tools. Now the tools were gone, and the machine was falling apart. Doyen stood in the gardens of the Human Council building on Earth, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and purple. 3 weeks since the Exodus began, 3 weeks since humanity had walked away from the galactic community. He should feel victorious. The plan had worked better than anyone dared hope, but instead he felt tired. Ambassador Jean approached carrying a data pad. "President Joe is ready for the meeting." Doyen nodded and followed her inside. The council chamber was smaller than the one on Nexus Prime, but infinitely warmer. Here, humans made decisions about their own future. No one spoke down to them. No one questioned their worth. President Joe stood as they entered. She was a stern woman in her 60s with silver hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Around the table sat the heads of every major human colony and fleet. "Ambassador Doyen," Joe said. "Director Soman has just finished her report. I think you need to hear this." Soman stood, activating a holographic display. She had been the director of human intelligence for 20 years, and she looked grimly satisfied. "For the past 5 decades, Soman began, we have been conducting a long-term strategic operation. Every human who joined the galactic community was carefully placed. Doctors in critical hospitals, engineers on essential infrastructure, technicians on defense networks, traders on key routes. We did not do this by accident." She pulled up charts showing human distribution across council space. It was like watching roots spreading through soil, touching everything. We knew from the very beginning that the council would never accept us as equals, Soman continued. Every insult, every dismissal, every rejection was documented. We prepared for this day, and when it came, we were ready. Admiral Jivan leaned forward. So this was always the plan? Make ourselves indispensable, then leave. Not quite, Doyen interjected. The plan was to make ourselves indispensable, then use that position to force recognition. We hoped they would see reason. We gave them 50 years to see reason. But we prepared for this outcome. You prepared for every outcome, Joe observed. We prepared for every outcome, Soman said. Hope is good. Planning is better. She pulled up another display, this one showing current conditions in council space. The red indicators had spread like wildfire. Critical systems failing. Economy in free fall, defense gaps widening. 3 weeks in and they are facing extinction-level collapse, Soman reported. Food shortages on 17 worlds. Medical crisis on 42. Pirate raids increasing daily. And the communication breakdown means they cannot coordinate a response. People are dying, Said Minhi quietly. The engineer had returned from the Dyson Sphere project looking haunted. Civilians who did nothing wrong. Children. The room fell silent. This was the weight of their decision. They had not just hurt the council. They had hurt everyone the council was supposed to protect. 3 species have withdrawn from the council entirely, Soman continued. 5 more are threatening too. The government is on the verge of complete collapse and we are receiving messages, thousands of them. She played a few desperate pleas from hospitals. Frantic requests from defense coordinators, angry demands from counselors, apologetic messages from ordinary people who had called humans friends, and threats. So many threats. Vexter had sent 17 messages alone, each one demanding humans return or face consequences. Face what consequences? Jivan asked, amused despite herself. They cannot even keep their own stations running. What are they going to do to us? That is the question, Joe said. What happens now? We have made our point. The galaxy knows what we are worth. Do we let them collapse completely or do we negotiate? Let them burn, said Admiral Tahong, his voice hard. 50 years of contempt. 50 years of being treated as lesser. They deserve this. Do the children on those 17 starving worlds deserve it? Doyen countered. Do the patients dying in hospitals because we took our doctors away? The argument erupted around the table. Some wanted revenge. Some wanted reconciliation. Some wanted to simply ignore the council and build something new. Doyen listened to it all, saying nothing. Finally, Joe held up a hand for silence. Ambassador Doyen, she said, you started this. You faced them in that chamber. What do you think we should do? Everyone turned to look at him. Doyen took a long breath, choosing his words carefully. We left to prove a point, he said slowly. Not to become what they were. If we let innocent people die just to punish the council, we become the monsters they thought we were. But if we return without conditions, without change, we prove them right. We prove that humans can be pushed around, used, and dismissed. So what is the middle path? Joe asked. We negotiate, Hyachin Said, speaking for the first time. She had been quiet throughout the meeting, but now she pulled out her own data pad. I have been working on a proposal. Conditions for humanity's return. She displayed them on the screen. The list was long and detailed. Full council membership with equal voting rights. Reparations for 50 years of exploitation. Restructuring of the council government to prevent future discrimination. Equal representation for all species, not just the ancient ones. Human autonomy in administering human colonies and fleets. Open source sharing of technology to prevent future dependency. They will never agree to all of this, Tahong said. Then we adjust, Hyachin replied. But we start here. We negotiate from strength. Have they even asked to negotiate? Jivan questioned. Soman smiled grimly. Chancellor then has sent 47 requests for talks. We have ignored all of them. But I think it is time to respond. Let them sweat a little longer. Then we open a channel. Joe looked around the table. All in favor of beginning negotiations. Hands rose slowly. Not everyone was happy about it, but the majority agreed. Humanity would negotiate. But we do not return until the terms are acceptable, Joe said firmly. No compromise on the fundamentals. We are equals or we stay gone. The meeting ended. As people filed out, Soman pulled Doyen aside. You should know, she said quietly. 3 council species have formally apologized. Public broadcasts. They acknowledged their mistake and asked for forgiveness. The Trellin Consortium, the Hebron Alliance, the Venturi Union. 3 out of 12, Doyen observed. It is a start. And Vexter's government fell yesterday. His own people removed him in a no-confidence vote. The new leadership's first act was to request human aid. Doyen absorbed this. Change was happening. Real change. But it had taken total collapse to make it happen. How long do you think the council has before complete failure, he asked. 2 months, maybe less. After that, the governmental structure will be too damaged to repair. The galaxy will fracture into thousands of independent systems. Chaos for decades. Then we have 2 months to fix this, Doyen said. For better or worse, we broke ET. We have some responsibility to help repair ET. You are too kind, Soman said. They do not deserve your mercy. Maybe not, Doyen agreed. But the people suffering under their failed leadership Donnerstag. The children Donnerstag. The innocents Donnerstag. He looked out the window at Earth's night sky. Somewhere up there, the galaxy was tearing itself apart. And humanity held the key to stopping ET. Sent a message to them, Doyen said. Tell him we will talk, but on our terms, in our space. If he wants humanity back, he comes to us, not the other way around. Soman nodded and left to send the message. Jin remained behind. Do you think they will change, she asked. Really change? Doyen considered the question. I think they have no choice. The old galaxy is dead. We killed it when we left. What comes next? We build together as equals, or we do not build it at all. And if they refuse, then humanity thrives on its own. We have our colonies, our technology, our strength. We do not need them. But they need us. And that changes everything. Outside, the first stars were appearing in the darkening sky. Among them somewhere was Nexus Prime, a station going dark, a council in chaos, an empire learning too late the price of arrogance. And on Earth, humanity waited to see if the galaxy could be saved. The shuttle carrying High Chancellor then landed at the human spaceport in Geneva. He stepped out into Earth's atmosphere for the first time, feeling the gravity pull at him differently than on Nexus Prime. Everything here felt heavier. Or perhaps that was just the weight of what he had come to Donnerstag. Doyen waited at the bottom of the ramp, flanked by Jean and President Joe. No weapons, no guards, just 3 humans standing calmly in the morning sun. Chancellor then, Doyen said, offering a formal bow. Welcome to Earth. Then returned the bow deeper than he would have 2 months ago. Ambassador, thank you for agreeing to meet. They walked together into the negotiation building. It was simple compared to the grand halls of Nexus Prime. Just a round table, comfortable chairs, and windows looking out at mountains in the distance. No tiers, no elevated seats. Everyone would sit at the same level. Then noticed this immediately. He said nothing, but his eyes lingered on the equal arrangement. Over the next 3 days, more council representatives arrived. Moros came looking diminished somehow. The new Vexery representative, a younger Avon named Kira. Councillors from each of the 12 species, some reluctant, others desperate. On the 4th day, negotiations began. The council proposes that humans return to their previous positions, Moros began. We are willing to grant full membership status and voting rights. 50 years too late, Jean said flatly. That is no longer sufficient. Moros bristled. You would make demands? You are the ones who abandoned your duties. We abandoned nothing, Doyen corrected, his voice calm but firm. We were provisional members with no binding obligations. We chose to leave a situation where we were not valued. That was our right. Then raised a clawed hand. Peace, Counselor Moros. They are correct. We did not value them and now we face the consequences. Let us hear their terms. Jean activated a display showing humanity's conditions. The list was long, but she began reading them clearly. Full and equal membership. Restructuring of council voting to prevent majority tyranny. Reparations for economic exploitation. Protection of human autonomy. Technology sharing agreements to prevent future dependency. Formation of an equality commission to prevent discrimination. With each point, some councillors looked more uncomfortable. But they listened. They had no choice but to listen. These terms are excessive, complained the Venturi representative. You ask us to completely remake our government. Your government is already broken, Joe said bluntly. We watched it collapse in 6 weeks. What we are offering is a chance to build something better together. And if we refuse? Moros asked, though his voice lacked conviction. Then you refuse. Doyen said simply. Humanity will continue on our own path. The 3 species who withdrew from the Council have already signed mutual defense and trade agreements with us. 5 more have expressed interest. We do not need the Council to survive. Can you say the same? The silence that followed was answer enough. Negotiations continued for 2 weeks. Some points were adjusted. Some were expanded. Humanity gave ground on minor issues but held firm on the fundamentals. Equality was not negotiable. On day 15, Councillor Kira made an unexpected move. She stood and addressed the room, her feathers smooth and her voice steady. I must speak honestly, she said. My predecessor, Vexta, led our people into disgrace. He believed our ancient status made us superior. He was wrong. I have reviewed the records. I have seen what humanity contributed. I have seen how we treated them, and I am ashamed. She turned to face Doyen directly. On behalf of the Vexari people, I formally apologize. We were wrong. You deserved respect from the beginning and we failed to give it. If you accept nothing else from these negotiations, please accept our sincere regret. The room went very quiet. Doyen looked at Kira for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Apology accepted, he said. For what it is worth, I met many Vexari who treated humans with kindness. Our people are not defined by one leader's failures. Other councillors began to speak then, offering their own apologies. Some were clearly genuine. Others seemed calculated, meant to win favor. But the tide was turning. Then watched it all and finally understood something. Humanity had not destroyed the council out of spite. They had given the council an opportunity to change. A harsh opportunity paid for in suffering and chaos, but an opportunity nonetheless. On day 18, the council formally agreed to humanity's terms. The agreement was signed in a ceremony broadcast across the galaxy. A new structure would replace the old hierarchy. The Council of Equals, it would be called. Every species would have proportional representation. Decisions would require broader consensus. No single group could dominate. But Doyen knew the real change was not in the documents. It was in how people looked at each other. Now the old councillors met human eyes instead of looking through them. They asked questions instead of issuing commands. They had learned through painful necessity that ancient did not mean superior. After the signing, then requested a private meeting with Doyen. They walked together in the Earth Gardens. An old reptilian and a middle-aged human discussing the future. You planned this from the beginning, did you not? Then asked. The systematic integration into critical systems, the documentation of every slight. You were always prepared to leave. We hoped we would never have to, Doyen admitted. But yes, we prepared. Hoping for the best while planning for the worst seemed wise. It was more than wise. It was brilliant and humbling. Then stopped walking, turning to face Doyen fully. I need you to understand something. I was born into a system where age and tradition determined value. For 300 years, I never questioned it, and then you left and everything fell apart and I realized we had built our entire civilization on a lie. What lie? Doyen asked. That power comes from being old. From being first. But real power, the kind that matters, comes from being useful, from contributing, from doing the work. Then looked at his clawed hands. We stopped doing the work centuries ago. We just managed things that others built. We mistook management for creation. The galaxy needs both, Doyen said gently. Management and creation, wisdom and innovation, old and new. That is why a council of equals works better than a council of ancients. Then nodded slowly. Will you return? Personally, I mean. Will you serve on the new council? Doyen considered this for a time. Yes. To help build the foundation, but then I retire. I am tired, Chancellor. 50 years of fighting for recognition is exhausting. Let the next generation carry it forward. Who will that be? Doyen smiled. Have you met Boram? She is 16, brilliant and fierce. She will not tolerate the nonsense my generation endured. None of them will. They are growing up knowing their worth. That is the real victory. As if summoned by her name, a young woman appeared on the path ahead. Boram was indeed 16 with bright eyes and an eager expression. She was carrying data pads and walking with purpose. Ambassador Doyen, she called. President Joe needs you. The Trellin delegation has arrived. Thank you, Boram. I will be right there. He turned back to then. She is a student in the new Galactic Academy. The first class will include young people from 20 different species, all learning together as equals. That is the future, Chancellor. Not councils and negotiations, but children who grow up not knowing prejudice. Then watched the young human hurry away. I envy them. They will build something we could not even imagine. We can imagine it, Doyen said. We just have to be brave enough to let go of what was and embrace what could be. They walked back together. Around them, Earth was preparing for the return. Human ships were being loaded with supplies, medicine, and personnel. But this time, they went as equals, as partners, as valued members of a new galactic community. On Nexus Prime, repairs were already underway. Human engineers worked alongside Venturi technicians and Trellin programmers. The old divisions were breaking down slowly. Trust would take time to rebuild, but the foundation was there. 6 months after the Exodus, the first integrated council session was held. Representatives from 43 species sat in the circular chamber. No tiers, no elevated seats, just equals solving problems together. Doyen attended that first session but did not speak much. He preferred to watch the younger representatives find their voices. They were bolder than his generation had been, less willing to accept injustice quietly. Boram attended as an observer, representing the academy students. She sat in the gallery taking notes and asking pointed questions during open forums. Several old counselors looked uncomfortable with her directness. Good, Doyen thought. The discomfort of the privileged was how change happened. After the session, a memorial was unveiled outside the council chambers. A simple pillar of polished stone with words carved in every galactic language. In memory of the silent departure, may we never forget what we nearly lost through pride. May we always remember that true strength lies not in dominance, but in mutual respect. Doyen stood before it with Hyojin. Both of them quiet. Do you think it will last? She asked. This new council, this equality. Nothing lasts forever, Doyen replied. But if we teach the next generation well, if they remember this lesson, then perhaps it lasts long enough. Long enough for equality to become normal. Long enough that no one can imagine going back. And if they forget? Hyojin smiled a bit sadly. Doyen did not answer. He simply looked up at the stars, hoping they never would.